At the end of this video, we'll take a look at Mad Ramp's innovative pivoting ramp system, the safer, easier way to transport your ATVs and snowmobiles. Stick around. Before we get started, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of our friends. The Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Search for them on Facebook. Central Minnesota Pond Racing. Search for them on Facebook. The historic Lancaster Motel for the ultimate Eastern trail riding adventure. Crane's Snowmobile Museum at 172 Main Street in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Vintage Snowmobile Club of America Quarterly Magazine. The Bridge Street Garage Racing Team, the house racing team of the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast. The New Hampshire Snowmobile Museum at Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire. And lastly, if you decide to advertise with the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast, this could be your advertising message. Good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here tonight. I have a very robust lineup of vintage snowmobile entertaining on tap for you tonight. Every week I say robust. Well, this is extra robust because we have two live guests waiting for us in the wings to come on here in just a minute. We're going to bring them on in a moment, but I want to just chat for a second here. We've got, I'll call your attention to item number one. We've got Bill Stull coming on and his lovely wife, the announcer at Eagle River, at the Eagle River races. They're going to be coming on in a moment to show us one of the Rupps in their collection, and his wife is also going to give us an update on how things are going at Eagle River. And then at about 25 past the hour, we're going to bring our second guest, item number two, Ray Lacasse. Ray is going to come on. He's a good friend of ours. He's going to discuss his upcoming vintage snowmobile ride in Pittsburg, New Hampshire. Then about 35 past the hour, we're going to have some announcements, and then I'm going to call your attention, your special attention, if you will, to item number 4. We're going to open things up to an open line show and tell format where you can come on and join us with your cell phone for some vintage snowmobile show and tell. Now, there are a few guidelines for you coming on with your cell phone for some show and tell. Here are the guidelines. I'll go over them real quickly. You do have to have something vintage snowmobile related for show and tell, something to show us or maybe some stories to tell of yesteryear. We ask you to hold your camera horizontal for a wide shot. Do keep it clean, no nudity, profanity, etc. It's okay if you've got something to sell, but it must be vintage related. And number 5, of course, please keep it positive, no bashing of people, businesses, etc. Now, before we get into our first guest here, I want to make sure that everything is working properly. So if you can see my face and hear my voice, I'm going to ask you to make a comment in the comment section. Let us know where you're viewing this from. If you're a first-time viewer, if you're a first-time viewer, let us know that you're a first-time viewer. And if you're a regular viewer, let us know also that you're a regular viewer. And to all of our viewers, first-time or regular viewers, I thank you so much for coming on and being a part of this. It really means a lot. And we've got a lot of people on here tonight, 49 or 50 people watching. It's climbing, 51 people. So let's take some comments. We've got Clayton Wicks, and he's rooting for the Buffalo Bills this weekend. Cool deal. We've got Bombard, Floyd, and Lisa. He says they can't watch tonight. They're getting their race sled ready for next weekend, and he apologizes. We accept that apology and hope to catch you next time, and we wish you luck with your racing over the weekend. Alden Banks, regular viewer, says, sounding good. We appreciate that. Our good friend Armand Buteau from Pittsburg, New Hampshire. He says, come to see us March 12th for our amazing vintage ride. And Ray Lacasse is going to be telling us about that very ride at about 25 minutes past the hour. Mark Ferguson from Ontario says, loud and clear tonight. Nick Kafez is on, loud and clear from Indian River, Michigan. We thank you so much for coming on. We're going to take one more comment, then we're going to bring our guests on, but I'll continue to pop the comments on the screen. Rob Hilditch, our good friend, says he's asking if we have any snow. He says he's got cold weather over there, but no snow, and I think he's in Ontario, Canada. We've got 8 inches or so in northern Vermont on the ground. The trails are open. I don't think it's a good base, but people are out riding. The trails are groomed. So, yeah, the season has begun. All right, so without further ado, let's bring on our first guest here. We've got Bill Stull and his lovely wife. How are you guys doing tonight?
Very good.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I apologize. I did not catch your name, Mrs. Stull.
Becky, the voice of vintage.
Excellent. Becky, the voice of vintage. Please tell us about that real quick, if you could. Can you give us a quick update or tell us about what that means, the voice of vintage? And if you could, please give us an update on how things are going with the racing at Eagle River.
Well, I started back in 2014 doing the races there, and I just went from there. I've been there every year since, I believe, except one. I did announce all last weekend. There was 51 entries initially for the WC race, and then there were 6 buybacks through time trials, and then there was 72 scheduled races just for Friday day alone, and 19 races for the Friday night lightning, and then we had 58 races on Saturday and 29 races on Sunday. So it was a full weekend of vintage racing.
Wow, that is amazing. So well attended both with racers and as spectators, it sounds like.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, our house racing team, the Bridge Street Garage Racing Team, is there with Lucas Nast and Spencer Beatty. I've not been in touch with them the last few days. How are they doing? Have you seen anything of them or how they're doing on the track?
Lucas last weekend was very fast. Got some incredible racing action on the track. So, and I'm not, and it was Spencer Steves.
I'm sorry? Spencer Beatty.
That name I'm not familiar with.
Okay, well, that's all right.
Yeah,
well, cool.
Next to us.
Hope your audio is breaking up a little bit. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I said Lucas was pitted right next to us in pits.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, cool deal. Now, I'm not familiar with how all of this works, but would Spencer Beatty, his teammate, have been in there with him, or would he have been in a different area, or how does that all work?
But if I'm thinking who that was, yes, he was in there.
Oh, good. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that things are going well over there. Now, everyone is intrigued about this snowmobile that's sitting in front of you. In fact, if anyone on social media that enjoys vintage snowmobiles has seen the images of this sled going viral. Tell us, Bill, what are we looking at here?
So this fall we had a team meeting with me and my guys. We got Will Stull over there, Madam Claire over here behind the phone, and then Becky and my daughter Kim, who's not here. But we just had a team meeting and we decided to build a new sled. So I said, let's start early and So we're done early in case we get early ice, which, you know, it happens at times, you know, early December, we could already be testing. So that was our plan. Well, that all came to a screaming halt the week of Thanksgiving. My whole shop got COVID. Well, we all got through COVID just fine. And, but right at the tail end of our quarantine type stuff, I got some pressure in my chest, didn't think nothing of it. And, you know, just being, you know, Mr. Tough Guy type stuff, and I'll get better, I'll get better. And unfortunately, it overcome me, and I ended up with stage 2 COVID pneumonia, and it damn near killed me. But you know, Becky was running everywhere to get, you know, prescriptions filled, and a private doctor, and a couple trips to the emergency room, and you know, one time actually kind of just looking at the ceiling and saying, "God, take me, I'm done." I mean, the fight is horrible with this virus, and but you know, it wasn't my time, and God had other plans, so I made it through. And unfortunately, at that point, I lost a lot of lung capacity, a lot of strength, and luckily I'm very healthy. To always lose the weight, right? But I'm very healthy, and I recovered. My doctor told me that I have to be the fastest recovery guy that's ever happened. She says, "This is either modern day miracle or you're not human." And I says, "Well, I know I'm human because I cut myself when I bleed, so I'll go with the modern day miracle because that sounds pretty cool." But anyways, when we got done with that, now we were really far behind. So I got on my treadmill and started treadmilling and get my lung capacity back and started lifting some weights, and you know, and then we're, you know, first and foremost, out in the body shop, restoration shop, that was, you know, first priority to get that going and get, you know, things back in order, which it was. And then at nighttime and weekends, we're working on the race sled and trying to get ready for Ironwood. Well, then we decided to, you know, hold back and test. And then when Eagle River came, I had a serious talk with my doctor and told her exactly what it's like running a 440 class. And if I did my math right, from start to finish, from time trials to the end of the race, if you make the final, which is 10 laps, I think it's like 27, 28 laps. And I told her it's supposed to be bitter cold. And then she said, "No, absolutely not." She was afraid that I could walk out with COVID pneumonia. But then I told her I had. So I accepted that. And I said, "Okay, we're going to miss Eagle River." But I have a 250 Supermod, a 76 Rupp Magnum. And I said I could run that, though, because just last weekend we were on the ice all weekend. And she says, "What kind of sled is that?" And I said, "Well, it's only 250. And I said, "That's like riding a garden tractor compared to riding this thing." So she said, "Well, if you think it's okay," she says, "go ahead." So we ran Eagle River and I got second. I've been kind of making a joke about it. I ran out of talent on my tune-up, but you know, kudos to Aaron Reuter. He won the race. I mean, he ran his race. He was running great. He won. He deserves it. And we'll just keep on tuning it. And I'm sure we'll get him by the end of the season. If you're listening, Aaron, we're coming for you. So back to the main question you asked, what do we got here? So what we got here is a brand new sled that we built. We're very excited. It's a medium weight sled. It's not the heaviest sled. It's not the lightest sled. But I mean, it fell in where we were happy with the weight. And then what my team is named after is called Team 3D. 3D stands for Third Dimension. And that was a 1974 Rupp Snow Pro. That was their entry into the very first year of Snow Pro racing. And that's originally a mid-mount. So Gene Bloom, the pilot of these sleds, he was still running a mid-mount, and everybody's got a front mount. So what we have here is the original 3D glass out of the mold, but I turned it into a front mount, and I can do that because it's Supermod. So we built a brand new sled. I haven't run a Third Dimension in quite a long time, so we went nuts and we built a pretty exotic sled here, and we're very happy with the outcome. We have ran it, we have tested it. We've got a few suspension issues that we got to address, but we're going to test this weekend and get it all dialed in a little better. And then, but we run a smaller track than Eagle River, and we felt that we would gain roughly, cross our fingers, hopefully 5 miles an hour. Not trying to be conservative or overthinking it, but I know we would gain, and we were in the 80 mile an hour range. We were higher than the 80 mile an hour range on the test track, so we had super high hopes to run this at Eagle River, but it just didn't happen this year. So now we got to wait another year. But you know what? I'll tell you right off, I just turned 53. Like you hear a woman saying, you know, but it's the same thing for a man. My biological clock is ticking here. So, you know, at 54 years old next year, do I need to be going that fast at Eagle River? Of course I do, right? I mean, I've been in this forever.
Sure.
I don't know. We'll see how I feel next year. If I want to do it, I know there's a lot of young guns. I still have the kahunas to do this, but do I want to go that fast, and race that? I mean, it's just stuff you think about, and I have a huge business here, and there's always something about the thoughts about getting hurt. You don't want to get hurt, but you know what? We can hop in our car and drive home tonight too. So I don't think that way, but it can happen. So, but I have a feeling that come next year, if we can get this sled all dialed in and tuned in, and I say like when you become one with your sled, it's a remarkable feeling, and that's what I had with my 440 triple that we qualified a couple times for the WC, and if I can get that feeling with this sled, look out. I think we'll be a force of record.
Nice. Yeah. And it makes sense too. Confidence is everything. If you feel like you've got it dialed in and you're in tune with the sled, you're going to feel a whole lot better going out there. And I do have a couple of questions coming in. I've got Jeff Lind asking if that's a Fuji motor.
So it's a 1975 Kohler RS. It's called 1975 Kohler RS.
Gotcha. So Zenert's Vintage Sleds was correct. Because he was calling that as a Kohler. Cool deal. And then we've got Dave Kleitz. He's asking if that's a 1960 Starliner behind you.
Yeah, it sure is. That's one of our restorations. It's about 3/4 of the way done. If you can see what that looks like, I mean, that black is a mile deep, and this is one of our restorations, and that car is going to be dynamite.
Beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, good call on calling what that car was. In fact, while we're talking about your business, I'm going to pop your business card on the screen and give you a chance to do a shameless plug for your business.
No, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about your business.
Okay, so that Cousins Custom Binding Paint is my restoration side of the business, and it's my main business. And so we do crash work, we do rust repair. If you want to bring your stove in, we'll paint your stove. If I can put paint on it, we'll paint it. I mean, it's that simple. We're a very versatile shop, and we do an awful lot of high-end, high-dollar restorations. And then we also, do your normal, just, how much to paint my Chevy truck, that kind of thing. So, I mean, we're so versatile what we do. We do super high-end jobs to, we're not a cobble job shop. I'm just not going to plug holes. I mean, we're going to do it right. It's going to cost you some money, but some guys come in and it's like, oh, just plug it, and that's good enough. That won't happen here. That's not what we do. So, but yeah, we're very busy in the body shop. And then another part of my business is I supply, hundreds of parts every year to Rupp enthusiasts. And then unfortunately this year, with the COVID and being off, I wasted about a month with this COVID thing, and I got kind of behind on Rupp orders and parts, and everything's on the back order though. I just got a load of fiberglass that I ordered in the springtime, so everything is back order, and I have a huge fall order of parts that I stock on the shelves. When people call, and I only got half of that order in, and all that other stuff is still back ordered. So I'm just asking that, no matter what people are dealing with, you call it. I mean, unfortunately, people just have to be patient and understand, and again, I'm not trying to beat that horse here, but luckily I'm here because my doctor looked me right in the eye and said, I honestly thought you were going to die. I mean, that hit home. That hit home, so it's a tough pill to swallow with this big, what's going on out in our country right now. And, this is America. I've said we're red-blooded Americans. We want to work hard, get paid, spend your money accordingly, and have fun. And right now, it's not very fun out there. There's just a lot of controversy in this country, and I love nothing more than just put that all aside. Like me, I want to race snowmobiles. We want to fix cars. And if it's just a quiet night at home on the couch with the wife, or Caitlin or our daughter and her boyfriend want to come over, or the guys come over. I mean, we just want to have fun. That's what we're about. And I cannot wait to get this beast out in competition. And my first race looks like will be at Wausau, Wisconsin, the 525, January 29th. And I'm excited to see what the sled will do in competition. I think, knock on wood, I think some people are going to be surprised. We've got something here.
Nice. Now, is it possible for your camera person to take the camera off the tripod for a moment and give us a walk around of that sled so we can get a closer look at it?
Sure. And then let me explain a little bit to the people who don't really understand it. So there's so many classes in vintage snowmobile racing. There's pure stock, there's super stock, there's mod stock. I mean, there's so many classes that you can enter. So if somebody's interested in racing and say you don't want a big high horsepower sled to run, but there's a pure stock class you could. There's so many classes that people could get into this, and there's plenty of parts and plenty of sleds to be had yet. Don't fool yourself. There is, believe me. And but when you build a sled like this, I mean, this is a lot of time, a lot of effort. My wife sacrifices my time. I don't get home till late. My guys, they sacrifice. I mean, and another thing, I already said their names, but seriously, Will over there and Matt. I mean, if it wasn't for those guys, I couldn't do this myself. And I mean, it's a team effort. And honestly, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be at the level I am today. So those guys have been with me for years upon years. And anybody who knows us at the track knows that we're willing to give a hand. We're super nice. We'll do anything to help another fellow racer out. So, but Matt, Will, seriously, if it wasn't for you, I thank you guys for your time. Thank you.
Well, sure. Yeah, our pleasure for sure. And we've got a comment coming in. Jim Gauchione is asking, we're saying awesome sleds, and he's asking if Becky got her steps in today. And he also says she's a great announcer at Eagle River.
I've got 50 steps to go by midnight.
Nice. So you're getting really close. Wonderful.
It's known around the world that I do lots of steps. So yes, I have 50 steps to go for today.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And then we've got just a few minutes here before we have to wrap this segment up. But in those last few minutes, I wonder if you could tell us how you're making out with the Rupp Museum that you've been working on. How's that coming along for you?
So that made a big step last year. Forward. So the building is all up. It's all enclosed. It's all remodeled and inside. And we have a bunch of Rupps in it, but it's not even close to being done yet. So we got to get our pallet racking up. I've got tons of memorabilia that's going to go hanging on the walls. So hopefully this summer it all happens. All the electricity's got to be put in yet. So it's a little ways away, but it's very close, and I can't wait to have that done where I can open the door and show off not only my Rupp history, but the original Rupp history, where it all started. And
nice.
Some of the rare stuff I have, some of, the rarest Rupp prototypes, the Rupp Gene Bloom's original sleds, clothing, medals, trophies that Gene gave me years ago, 2 of his helmets, his original helmets, and I'll have all that on display.
Wonderful. Yeah, I can't wait to see that. And please keep me in the loop on that. When you're ready for the big reveal, please reach out to me. I'd love to do something on the podcast, and so everyone else so all of the viewers can enjoy that and see what you've got going on there.
Okay.
And then we've got one last comment. Someone made a comment. Zenert's Vintage Sleds is asking if it's possible to fire up that sled. Is that possible, Bill?
Oh,
we would love to, but when we built the sled, I had a seat made, and I had it kind of shaped so when you're getting off, it's not like a 90-degree seat. I had a kind of a bevel put it to slide off and on easy. Well, then my gas tank didn't fit the seat, so I had a big stem sticking out and it was digging into my thigh. So I just had the gas tank all modified and re-welded and fixed that, and we don't have no gas. So.
Gotcha. No worries. No problem at all. Well, cool. Yeah, well, we really appreciate you coming on. And before we leave, is it possible for your camera guy to do a quick walk around of that sled just so we can see it from different angles?
We'll talk about it and explain a little bit. So if you looked in the front, when he was in the front, what we built there, that's a big air scoop that goes up to the motor. We made that and fab that. That's a cool crankcase. The heads are billet aluminum, which is allowed in super mod, but in other classes, it's not allowed. So these are all billet aluminum heads that we had made. And then I got a couple new sponsors this year. I'd like to say Wasner's came on board. I got some great pistons and clots, lubricants and oils and gas. They're a major sponsor of mine now this year. So we went back to making our own skis, and they were nothing too exotic, but it's something I ran years ago that we absolutely handled great with. So we went back to that. And everything else is all custom made. Steering comes out underneath. It's kind of like a snow twister. Pulls the ski instead of a push like a Polaris. And then the tunnel is all original dimension tunnel. And then I got them wider here for my foot. And then when you lean off on the side, so kind of made that look, and that looks pretty cool. And then you walk around that side, Matt. Then I'll show you some of the electronics here. So this side here, we can control everything about the sled, but basically by a computer. So there's a little stick that goes on here, and then we can set our timing. We can change our timing, all the mile per hour, EGT, everything is recorded when this little stick goes on here. We take that off, we plug in our computer, and there's all our information. It shows us mile per hour, everything about the engine, RPM. We know what we're doing. So, but yeah, and then we got some
guesswork out of it.
Yeah, we got some exotic stuff going on with this sled. Nothing new that nobody else is doing, but it's like I said, it's a medium weight sled, so it's fairly light for us, honestly, because when I built this, the Rupp bulkheads were steel, so the front bulkhead in this sled is still steel, and we use every sled we've ever built. We've used the original Rupp bulkhead. So this sled, all my sleds have the original heart in them, which is very proud of us. This just isn't fabbed up on a piece of table and made. The original Rupp bulkhead still exists in this sled, and that's something that we really pride ourselves on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's really impressive, and just the aesthetics alone, it's a really impressive looking sled. It's it's really sharp looking for sure.
And I'll show you some pipes look like.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Very cool.
The pipes are a big key to making this work. You can have all the power you want here, but if this ain't right, it's got to be matched, and we got something that's matched, and I feel that it's going to be dynamite. So
wonderful. Well, cool. Yeah, I appreciate your giving us a look at that, and I appreciate your coming on. And like we said, like we talked about, once you get that museum up and running and ready to go, we'd love to do a big reveal here on the podcast. And anytime you've got something to show and tell, vintage related, especially Rupp related, I know you specialize in Rupp. Anytime you've got something to show or tell, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you on the podcast again.
Yeah, one thing I always said too is like in racing, back when I was drag racing my Corvette back in the 90s that I got back now, I've always said if we don't do good, we got to look good. So even if I'm wrong and it's a turd, which is not going to be, but no matter what, it will always look good. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Well, good deal. Well, thank you so much, Bill, for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And then just saying shout out to Becky and she doesn't put up with it. She embraces it, she supports me in it, and we don't have to fight for any of this stuff ever. I mean, it's just a great thing being married to this woman, and she's helped out so much in the vintage world with PBR, Pro Vintage Racing. That's our normal racing group with Eagle River, announcing, registration, payouts, the award ceremony she announces, the award ceremony. So it's just been, we enjoy being part of it. We really do.
Wonderful. Yeah, it was great to meet you too, Becky. Really nice to meet you tonight.
An update, while he was showing you the sled, I finished my steps.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. So you're on top of it. Good deal. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for coming on. It was great to see you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All righty. Take care.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. Let's switch gears here. Get back to the look that we're used to. Here we go. All right, let's get onto our menu here. So we're going to bring our second guest on. He's waiting patiently here in the wings. Our good friend, Ray Lacasse. Let's bring him on. And here we go. How you doing tonight, Ray?
Doing good, Mike. How are you?
Very well. Very well. It's nice to see you. And Happy New Year, too, by the way.
You too.
Well, thank you. So, Ray, tell us, you've got a vintage event coming up in Pittsburg, New Hampshire. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I can. It's the second annual Great Northwoods Vintage Snowmobile ride that I started last year. Got into the vintage stuff. I used to race back in the 70s. Love riding. I love the vintage stuff. Really got hooked on this vintage ride stuff. March 12th of this year, We're doing a big vintage ride in Pittsburg, New Hampshire. It's going to be a free cookout. We're doing a raffle for a snowmobile for a 1970 Skidoo Olympic, 12.3 single cylinder. And we're giving some other prizes too for a bunch of things. As we get going, we're going to do some small trophies for people like the oldest rider, the youngest rider, the person that came from the furthest away. We've got a nice little committee going that's helping me with this whole thing. Armin Buto, who is watching this right now. I saw him on here earlier. Big help, big guy. He's a big Rupp guy.
Sure is. He's a great guy.
Yeah, just a great guy, great wealth of knowledge. We got Warren Chase and Reggie Parker, a few other locals that are helping me with this. We're expecting close to 300 to 400 sleds for this ride.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now I've got a photo montage from last year. Last year you sent me some images and I put them together into a little montage with some music under it.
Yep.
Let's take a quick look at that.
Awesome.
We'll catch you on the other side.
Yep.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Nice. Now, for people who are thinking about participating in this on March 12th, when and where are they going to show up with their trailered snowmobiles?
Well, there's going to be, we had to expand to a couple of different parking lots this year. The one parking lot last year was overflowed. We're going to start with that one, which is right on Back Lake Road in Pittsburg. It's the OHRV parking. It's right on the map. And then on Day Road, which turns to Perry Stream, there's a couple of pits that are going to be plowed that are going to be right access to the snowmobile trail. And they'll both merge into one trail. It's a 30-mile loop. We're going to have a big cookout at the end, free hamburgers and hot dogs, donations only. All proceeds are going to go to the Pittsburgh Firemen's Association. Yeah, it's going to be a great time. And if people haven't ridden in Pittsburgh, it's one of the top destinations in North America to ride. Some great trails. We have a great club in the Pittsburgh Ridge Runners who do a fantastic job making these trails smooth and fun to ride.
Nice. Now, you mentioned that raffle. I'm going to pop that on the screen. If someone would like to participate in this raffle, I've got Ray's mailing address there at the top of the screen. If you'd like to buy some raffle tickets, just maybe either write him a letter and include your name, your phone number, email address, mailing address, and how many tickets you'd like. They're $10 each, 3 for $20. You mail the check to Ray there at the address at the top of the screen, and he'll set you up with some raffle tickets, and you can participate in that. And again, remind us again, Ray, what that sled is. It's a 1970 Olympic, you said?
Yes, it's a 1970 Skidoo Olympic 12.3. It's a single cylinder. It's in pretty good shape. I'm going to have some pictures of it here in the next week or so. They're just kind of finishing it up, getting it ready. Already got a big pile of people calling and messaging me about getting tickets for this. So we're very excited to get this out there. I think it's going to be a huge event.
Wonderful. And then the other question I was going to ask you is if there are people coming from out of town who may be flying in or driving a long distance and they don't want a trailer, perhaps, are there rental sleds available for someone who'd like to participate in this?
We have a few different places up here. The big one is Bear Rock Adventures. They're one of our primary sponsors. They are right on the trail, right close to stores. They're actually going to be the ones, once we get the forms out, that people are going to be calling to pre-register, which is going to help us with knowing what we're going to need for food, and everything else to go along with this ride. So Bear Rock Adventures is going to be the place for everybody to stop, and they have the rentals. They've got all kinds of snowmobile gear. If anybody's forgotten a pair of gloves or anything, they'll have everything that would be there for you.
Good. So it's a good place to outfit yourself with whatever you need.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Now, I also have some footage from last year that you shared with me. Let's take a quick look at that.
Okay.
All right, let's roll it. Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun.
Yep, it is, and it's going to be twice as good this year.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. Yeah, now that you've done one, I'm sure word has gotten around, that this something like this is going to happen. So I would imagine that many more people are going to show up for it.
Yeah, we had a lot of people that didn't know about it that stopped by with the new sleds that saw us at the cookout, and the response after that I got from everybody was, "We're buying a vintage sled just for this ride next year." So
Yeah.
that's what really made it fun, is to see people that didn't know what was going on and just see the excitement in their eyes and the stories that were told. That's what the whole day was about.
Wonderful. It's infectious.
That's for
very
sure.
cool. Good. Well, cool. Ray, I'm going to ask you if you'd like to stay on. I'm going to make a few announcements, and then we're going to open it up for viewers to come on with their cell phone for some show and tell. Would you like to stick around to be part of that?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So I'm going to have you hold just for a few minutes while I do the announcements, and we'll put
Okay.
it back on again. So I'm going to bring the menu on. We're at item number 3 right now. I'm going to make a few announcements, and then we're going to, in fact, I'm going to paste the link into the comment section. In fact, I'm doing it right now. So if you're thinking about coming on with your cell phone, joining us live for some show and tell, once I'm done with the announcements, you'll have a chance to do that. Now, here are the guidelines for that. If you'd like to come on with your cell phone and do some show and tell with something vintage related, the guidelines are this: you must have something that's vintage related. We ask you to hold your camera horizontal for a wide shot. Pardon me. We also like you to keep it clean with no nudity, profanity, etc. It's okay if you've got something that's for sale, but it must be vintage related. And number 5, of course, please keep it positive with no bashing of people, businesses, etc. So let's get quickly into the announcements. This is the schedule for the Central Minnesota Pond Racing, the upcoming season. This is the schedule if you're thinking about attending, if you're out in the Midwest. Also, Crane's Snowmobile Museum in Lancaster, New Hampshire. They're having a vintage snowmobile show, swap meet, and cookout on February the 5th. If you're in the area, don't miss it. That is a wonderful show. They have that every year, and it just gets better and better every year. Also, February the 19th in Vermont, Rutland, Vermont, they're going to have the 3rd annual Snowmobile Festival. That's a great show as well. Now, I mentioned earlier about Lucas Nast and Spencer Biotti. This is the Bridge Street Garage Racing Team. They are our house racing team. This is a post they had on Facebook earlier in the week. Let me bring it up so you can see what it says here. It says, this is from Lucas Nast. It says, I'm still trying to put into words the emotion of today after finding out 20 minutes before the last chance qualifier that we were in the race. We qualified and advanced into the 21st Vintage World Championship and placed 7th. So congratulations to the Bridge Street Garage Racing Team. They're just a small team from a small town making big things happen on the biggest stage. And Lucas offers his sincerest thank you to every person who was a part of their success for that. And then I'll give you a couple of close-ups. And a lot of smiles in that picture. And then this is Lucas right here next to his sled. So that is just really exciting to hear about that. And now the next image we have, this is an image that our good friend Rick Simula shared with me. And this is an image he got from Jim Miller, who I'm hoping is watching tonight. Now, Jim is on the right with his mother, father, and 2 uncles. George Clucky is in the center. And I've got some notes here that Jim shared with me about this image. It says, Rick Simula asked me to contact you about a picture I posted recently that had a group of people all in Arctic Cat purple dealer jackets behind a table full of trophies. So I believe that would have been in the winter of 70-71, just before the Thompson, Connecticut race. The event was a non-USCCA race at the newly constructed Moto X 338 track in Southwick, Massachusetts. Doesn't think they had any, they'd actually opened the track for dirt bike racing at that point. From left to right in the picture is Uncle Clint Hanks, his mom Shirley Miller with his dad Bruce behind her, George Clucky in the center, another Uncle Roger Hanks, and then himself on the far right. We'll show you that image again so you can kind of connect those names with the faces. Where was I with my reading here? Oh, it says, I think this is before or right after we became Arctic Cat dealers. I know that at the time the jacket I had on was not mine. I think the Cluckies loaned us some of their jackets. This is back when it was common to have cross-country, oval, and drag races all at the same venue. We had a couple of 292 Lynxes, a 340 Kawasaki Puma, 399 Kawasaki Puma, and I think George had a 70 Mod Puma. I was just talking to my mom, who just passed away recently. Condolences on that, Jim. She told me that this was the first time that they had met the Cluckies. Doesn't recall where the picture was actually shot, but it was later in the same day. He believed George's father took the picture, and he was an avid photographer. Later, we all met up at a local pizza place in their banquet room, which might be where this photo was taken, and they were celebrating there. And thank you so much, Jim, for that image. We'll get one more look at the image. Really cool vintage shot from back in the day. Got to love that sea of purple there with all those cool purple jackets. Now, our next announcement, we've got Brian Pasiglia. He's got this 1970 Snowjet. It's a 399 Starjet. He's wondering if anyone has a seat and other parts for it. He's looking for a backrest, tail lights, etc. for that sled. So if you have any of those types of items, I'm trying to pop his number on the screen here. Here we go. His phone number is on the screen. So if you have those items, just give him a call and he'll be happy to help you with that. Excuse me. And then we've got an event coming up next Saturday, the 22nd, on Tatro Road in Newport Center, Vermont. It's going to be a ride very similar to what Ray's been talking about. It's a 10 to 20 mile loop on the Country Rider Trail System. All the details are there on the screen. And last but not least with the announcements, Bert Menninger was kind enough to send me a newspaper from 1979. I'm waiting for the image to come up on the screen to catch up with me here. Whoops. Here we go. This is a newspaper from 1979. It covers the snowmobile scene, the racing scene, and so forth for Syracuse, New York. I'm just going to go through some of these images here. Now, if you'd like a closer look at this, I'm going once the podcast is over, I'm going to post all of these as a photo album on the Vintage Snowmobile Lovers Facebook page. So if you'd like to have a closer look at all of these images so you can read these articles, there's reviews of sleds in here. check out this Kawasaki advertisement, Darth Invader. How cool is that? So I'm going to, once the podcast is over, I'm going to be posting these images up on the Vintage Snowmobile Lovers Facebook page if you'd like to take a look. Like I said, these are all really cool reviews of these sleds and everything. And I thank Burt Menninger so much for sending me this publication. Really cool to look at that. I've been looking at that and reading it here the last couple of days, and I'm really thankful for him sending that to me. So let's get on with the podcast here. We're going to I also had a comment come in that I wanted to address. It was, okay, Scott Haston was asking, is there a show or podcast that showcases projects or swaps similar to construction trade with this old house or recent old days like Orange County choppers, counting cars specific to vintage sleds? That is an excellent question, Scott. This podcast could serve that purpose to a certain degree. If anyone has images or video footage of projects in the works, please share them with me, and I'd love to share them on the podcast. I know that everyone would be really interested in that. I like to see those kinds of things, and I'm pretty sure all the viewers on here would like to see projects like that in the works and completed, and even a sled that you've purchased that tell us this is what you're going to do with it. What do you think about that, Ray? Would you like watching that kind of content?
I'd love to see something like that. Absolutely.
Nice. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Scott. And to a certain degree, I'd like to fulfill that concept here on this podcast, and just putting a few more. Oh my, Zekinator saying his watch died and he missed the first few minutes of the podcast. Sorry to hear that. The good news is once the podcast is over, you can watch it in its entirety. Scott is asking, is that a trail ride or a race? Oh, he's asking about Ray's ride that he's doing. That's a trail ride. That's kind of like an old-fashioned ride-in, isn't it?
That's all it is. It's just an old-fashioned ride-in to a spot where we're all going to have a cookout and talk a lot about these old sleds.
Nice. And then, if we've got anyone who'd like to do some show and tell now, I have posted the link in the description. We'd love you to come on with your cell phone. Just come on, and if you're in a man cave with some vintage snowmobiles, we'd love to see them. If you have trophies, or if you have a story that you'd like to tell of yesteryear, some cool story of something that happened related to a vintage snowmobile, something from back in the day, we'd love you to come on. Just click that link with your cell phone, and it'll bring your cell phone live, and you can join us here on the podcast for some show and tell. We don't have any takers yet, but hopefully someone will come on. Tell you what, though, I'll tell a quick story from yesteryear, and then while I'm telling that, maybe Ray, see if you can come up with a story, and we'll kind of keep this going until someone comes on, and we'll go for another few more minutes, and then if nothing's happening, I've got another video I'd like to share. But the story I'm thinking of from yesteryear is this. Back when I was a kid, my dad had a 69 Panther, and those things were tanks, and we were doing some riding, and there was this big, long snowbank, and he managed to get up on top of it, and he was trying to ride the length of it. And at a certain point, it started to get tippy. So he just kind of lifted his leg, and it rolled off. It rolled down the snowbank 2 complete revolutions, landed upright. The engine never skipped a beat, no damage to the sled. All he did was just push the windshield back up, and he rode off like nothing happened. And, the sleds of today would not be as tough as that, I don't think.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure. I still distinctly remember watching that roll down the bank, thinking, "Oh, that's the end for that sled," But, did you have any stories or anything of yesteryear?
Well, from yesteryear for me was growing up in Lancaster, New Hampshire, Snowmobile City, USA, home of where the first snowmobile came into the U.S. Skidoo, into Timberland machines, and that's what started the whole thing in this country. The oldest snowmobile club in the United States. Being a kid growing up just about a mile from where they raced the snow machines, I had a cousin that was on the Chamber of Commerce and talked him into, when I was 8, 9 years old, let me go up and sell tickets to people to get in there just so I could watch these races. It was in my blood. I had to be there.
Wonderful. Great
time.
Yeah, no doubt. Being in Lancaster in the early 70s must have been amazing.
It was tremendous. A town that, Yeah, 3,000 people population, and on that weekend there was 10 to 15,000 people there for that race. It was tremendous.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's funny. I only lived an hour from Lancaster, but we never went to the Grand Prix. I remember hearing about it. We went to some kind of impromptu drag races in the town where I lived, Canaan, Vermont, and
Yep.
that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed
Yeah.
that. But I just can't imagine how cool it would have been to go to the Lancaster Grand Prix. I know I would have loved it. And
Oh, to see some of the people that raced there, and you know, Timberland Machines had a big team. That was the local team that raced all over. One of the big names I can remember is Gilles Villeneuve when he pulled into Lancaster with a Scarroul with the independent front end, and just mopped everybody up with that sled.
nice.
That was kind of the evolution of the snowmobile, I think, right there.
Yeah, when they started doing that independent suspension, that changed the game, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did.
For sure. For sure. Now, while we're talking about Lancaster, I'm going to take a quick break and do a quick shout out to our good friends at the Lancaster Motel, and I'll catch up with you on the other side.
Okay.
I'd like to give a quick shout out to our friends at the historic Lancaster Motel in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Lancaster Motel has been serving snowmobilers since the 60s, and they are the perfect eastern trail riding destination for snowmobilers young and old. The Lancaster Motel is right on Corridor Trail 5 in Lancaster, New Hampshire, with plenty of parking for vehicles, sleds, and trailers. Plus, the Lancaster Motel is within walking distance of Crane's Snowmobile Museum, plus restaurants, shopping, entertainment, and more. Click the link in the description to learn more about the Lancaster Motel. Yeah. So the really cool thing I like to think about with the Lancaster Motel is they're right on the trails, and you can combine some nice trail riding, modern trail riding, with some incredible history. You know, they got those legacy trails from yesteryear, and you've got you know, Crane's Snowmobile Museum just down the road. There's racing certain times a year that you can go view, and just so much going on in the way of history. And we do have someone coming on for some show and tell. Let's bring him to the stream here. We've got Ski Whiz Alaska. Let me put you full screen so I can read that. Scott Haston. It's nice to meet you. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, thank you. Playing with my volume here. I can't hear you very well.
All right. Sorry about. Are you having any luck? Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me a little better now?
Yeah, give me just a moment. I'll see if I can figure it out. Thank you.
Sure. But yeah, so we'll talk with Ray some more here. Let me here we go. Where was I going with that? Oh, so do you have any thoughts about those legacy trails, Ray, and Lancaster, as far as because you grew up during the heyday of all of that?
I grew up there in the trails. You know, Corridor 5 will bring you right to Pittsburg, New Hampshire. It was a tremendous area to grow up in. The trails were awesome. I can remember being part of the snowmobile club when we just had a twin track Alpine with a small drag behind it. That's when we first started. They've got I think they have a couple of Tuckers now. They do a tremendous job with the trails, and you can go anywhere from there. You could go, you know, through to Jefferson. You can go all the way up to Canada. You can go anywhere. It's a beautiful spot, beautiful area, Mount Washington area. Tremendous views, nice trails, nice people, great town.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. And how are we making out, Scott? Let me see if I can put you full screen. How are we doing, Scott? Can you hear us okay?
Not really. I'm just trying to reverse my camera so that you guys can get a shot of what I got going on. And
Gotcha. All
I
right.
apologize. I'm a computer illiterate here, so
That's all right. Well, let's do this. If you hold your camera like this and scroll like this, there should be a gear icon that allows you to adjust your camera to go from the front camera to the back camera, which will allow you to switch cameras.
yeah, heck, I'm not seeing it. So anyway, I maybe have to do this another time, Mike.
Well, that's all right. Well, let's. Are you able to show us what's behind you? Just give us a quick tease, and maybe we can another, maybe between now and
What I
next
got
week,
here
we
is
can
a
figure out.
69 Massey Ferguson 297, and just getting in. It's in the get back together stage now.
Yeah,
I apologize for the angles on the camera,
that's all right.
but got things going, and got the
Is the tractor?
track and running gear in just the other day. A lot of the parts on this machine came from back in your country.
Yeah.
I ordered a lot of this stuff from different people back in the East Coast, Quebec. Had it all shipped up here to Alaska. I probably got $4,000 into this rebuild so far, but
Wow.
it's all about the love of it. It's not.
Sure.
It's not about anything else. There's a engine here sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
That'll be going back in here fairly soon. I should have it into snow. I would guess in maybe a month. I got a show coming up in mid-February that I'd like to put it in. And then the Tired Iron in Fairbanks happens in March. That's about 6 hours north of me. I'll be going up for that. And we'll take the wife's sled if I can get that one in there.
There we go. Yeah. Is that a Johnson ski horse?
Again, I apologize for the camera angle. It's got a 68 ski horse. As found, we found that in a bus up here, and I brought it home and cleaned it up. And took it to a show, and it won People's Choice just
Wow.
as is.
Nice.
I had to put a seat cover and a windshield on it. Other than that, that's where I'm at, Mike. Just playing a couple hours every now and then, trying to put this thing back together. And I know the engine fires. I've done that already. Everything was looking fun and fine, and I love watching your show. I appreciate the time to show it. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate your coming on. And Scott, by the way, we've been corresponding a little bit via email for quite a few months, and it's nice to finally meet you. And Scott also was the person that made the comment earlier about having projects on this podcast. So if you think of taking video of these projects you're doing, Scott, I'd love it if you could share it with me, and we can put it on. Oh, we just lost Scott, but all right, but all right. All right, let's get trying to think on my feet here. All right, so yeah, sadly we lost Scott, but I'm going to correspond with him to see about having him take some video of those projects he's doing. We'd love to feature those on the podcast. And then the last thing we're going to do tonight is let's go back to our handy dandy menu here. I've got a video I'm going to show you. We're talking about item number 5 here on your screen. I went to the Washington, Vermont Vintage Snowmobile Rally over the weekend and had an absolutely wonderful time. Now, this show, I think this is the 5th or 6th show that they've done, so it's established now and it's getting known. And I think there also was some pent-up activity from people not going to shows last year because of COVID. But this show was so well attended that they were struggling to find parking for people. And that's saying something because there's plenty of parking at this show. And there were over 100 exhibitor sleds there, and it was a mob scene. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So that tells me that this is a great show they put on. They've built a nice reputation for themselves. But it also tells me that the vintage snowmobile hobby is alive and well, because we've got all these shows. We've got the ride that Ray does that's very well attended. And there's a couple of new shows I've been to just in the last year, brand new shows. Even the new shows are well attended. So that's telling me that the vintage hobby is alive and well. Any thoughts on that, Ray?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. The first one I went to 2 years ago in Franconia Notch, that kind of got my blood going and wanted to do this. I actually just chatted with somebody today on Facebook about the event that you just talked about over in Vermont. Said that there was 175 plus sleds there. So it's unbelievable how fast this is growing. And talking to the people last year at the ride that we did, our first annual ride, that didn't know about this, that they spent the year looking for vintage sleds just to go on this ride. So,
Nice.
And when they hear about more, and I've tried to post some dates for other rides that are going on in New Hampshire, But these people are going to go to more. This is only going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, for sure. I like to think of this as the golden age of celebrating the golden age of snowmobiling.
There you go. Absolutely.
Sure. So I'm going to set up this clip I'm going to show you. There's a family that goes to this show every year, as well as a lot of the others in northern Vermont and New Hampshire. It's the Celley family. There are 3 generations that show up, and the elder Celley is in his 80s, and he's got several sons and grandsons, and they bring a whole host of the family as a whole has a big collection of vintage sleds that they've restored, and they really like the older stuff from the early 60s. So as this clip starts to roll, you're going to see footage of Aaron Celley pulling a sleigh that's over 100 years old, and his father is in his 80s, is sitting on the back of that sleigh. And I went up to them and I asked if I could get a ride on that, and he gave me a ride on that. And that's what we're about to look at. So we're going to meet the Celley family here. I'm going to roll it right now.
Yeah.
Restored a few years ago.
Nice.
Pulling a 1800s Pung, P-U-N-G, I guess they call those. Originally horse-drawn. Kind of converted into a snowmobile tow-behind.
It works really well.
Well, a guy that his grandfather had it.
Yeah.
And they moved from Cambridge to Essex about 1910. And
Yeah.
brought it with them then, so it's pre-1910. So
Really? So a lot of this is over 100 years old.
yeah.
No kidding.
It's all handmade hardware.
Wow. Very cool. Yeah, it's true. Back in the days, that's the way they got around. Horse-drawn sleigh. Crazy.
He said his grandfather used to get firewood with it.
Firewood, yeah.
Well, with the horse.
Sure. That is really cool, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Any thoughts on that, Ray?
Oh man, it's just so neat to see that old stuff and see it running and doing what it did, back in the day. I can't wait to get to the first ride this year. We go to the one in Franconia Notch, the first Sunday in March, put on by the New Hampshire Snowmobile Museum. That's a great event too. Evelyn Farrell does a great job putting these on. Yeah, I'm going to try to get to as many of these events as I can just to see these sleds. It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah, it really is a celebration. It's so much fun seeing that.
Yeah.
And it really validates the whole thing. It's just that so many people show up for this and enjoy it,
Yep.
It's a really special thing. This is a great time to be into vintage right now.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Well, I'm going to wind it down, but any final thoughts, Ray, before we close the program? Or
No, I want to thank you so much for inviting me on. This has been a great pleasure. Great being on with you. Seeing what's going on with this, it's awesome. I'd be more than happy to come on again sometime.
Absolutely. Anytime you get something vintage to talk about, you're always welcome to come on. It's really nice having you on.
Awesome, Mike. I appreciate it very much, bud.
Sure. And also thanks very much to Bill and Becky Stull as well. They were on earlier. We had a great time visiting with them.
Yep. Thank them too.
Cool deal. Well, let me line up my closing video here. Our friends at Mad Ramps always get the last word. And thank you so much, everyone. We'll catch you on the other side. And Happy New Year, Ray. We'll talk to you
too.
soon.
All right. Bye.
It's the ultimate combination of simplicity and ingenuity. The newest way to load, unload, and transport your ATV or UTV. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Made in the USA and engineered for strength and durability. Maneuver through tight places and over rugged terrain with plenty of ground clearance. No licensing, no ongoing maintenance costs, and no storage hassles like trailers. Won't slip or move like conventional ramps. Free up more cargo space in the bed of your truck. Securely connects to your truck's receiver hitch. Easily extends for safe loading and unloading. Seamlessly retracts for highway and off-road travel. DOT approved in all 50 states and Canada. Quickly disconnects in under a minute. A unique space-saving storage system. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Go farther. Go faster. Go safer.
When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs. When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs.